Okay. So here we are talking about absorption costing. Okay, the basic of absorption costing, as in what is absorption costing. So in costing, can you all tell me who does costing? Who would be the person who would be doing costing?
An accountant.
Okay. But accountant. Now see, there is one person who is called a trader and one who is called a manufacturer. So who is the person who would be interested to know the cost of anything?
The trader.
Hmm?
The trader.
Okay. Trader will buy and sell. What does a trader do?
No, the manufacturer, no?
He will buy and sell. So trader would be more interested to know the purchase price of the product which he can get it from the market. But a manufacturer is someone who will manufacture, and after manufacturing, what will he do? He will
Decide
sell.
the cost
So a
of the product.
manufacturer is someone who will manufacture and sell. So costing is something that is more appropriate for a trader, or it is more appropriate for a manufacturer.
Manufacturer.
You're on mute, Ashita. Ira. Manufacturer. So costing is something that a manufacturer does. Now my next question to you is, when a manufacturer does costing, why does he do costing?
To understand how much he should be charging, like how much should be the final good ka price, because he'll take all the departments ka cost and then he'll decide final good ka price kitna rakhna chahiye.
Yeah, to decide the selling price.
Okay, so the manufacturer will do costing to decide the selling price. Very good. So in costing, there are two methods by which a manufacturer can do the costing. The first method where he uses costing method is called the absorption costing. And the second method is called the marginal costing. There are two methods which a manufacturer can adopt while he is doing costing. First method is called the absorption, second is called the marginal. There is a difference between absorption costing and marginal costing. You need to understand this distinguish very well, because there are small questions that come on this. Absorption costing takes your total cost into consideration while deciding anything. Whereas marginal costing, this is very important. I want you all to make a note of it. So absorption costing is going to take your total cost into consideration while deciding anything. Whereas in marginal costing, they only take variable cost into consideration. Absorption costing, total cost means what? Variable cost plus fixed cost. So they take all the cost into consideration. So absorption costing is basically used for long-term decision making. Whereas marginal costing is used only for short-term decision making. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when we talk about absorption costing, there are certain terms that you should know very clearly. So, those terms that you should know very clearly is, what is a cost center? How many types of cost centers do you have? Distinguish between allocation and apportionment. These three things, if you know the basics of absorption costing. Now, let's talk about cost center. There are some images that is given to you in front of you. Can you look at these images and tell me what you can see in these images?
So this image is basically a warehouse type of a thing where all the the other one is a factory, the first one is warehouse.
Okay, this is a warehouse. Okay.
Yeah. and this is where you keep all the finished goods. And the second image is basically a factory where the goods are being made from raw material to finished goods.
So this is a factory where the goods are being produced.
Yeah.
And what is this?
Warehouse.
What?
Warehouse. It's a canteen.
It's written, yeah, it's
Okay.
a canteen.
Okay, fine. So this images is telling you about cost centers. Now, you all have already described what are these, what things. Can you tell me what is a cost center?
Cost center.
What is a cost center? What is a cost center? Come on. Tell me what is a cost center? Think.
Like a organization or something that is like adding to the profit. I don't know. I just think that.
Is it the
Okay,
place where
fine.
cost is decided?
Ira.
This is the place where the cost is decided. See, whenever you have any company, okay? Whenever you have any company, in a company, you may have certain departments. So whenever you have any company, in the company, you may have certain departments where your work is being carried on. Okay, so you may have departments where your work is being carried on. So I would say these departments are called your cost centers. So what is a cost center? A cost center is basically your departments in the organization where you do all your expenses. Okay, this cost center word should be very clear to you. So cost center would be the departments in your organization where you will do your expenses. Okay, so what is cost center?
Cost center is basically a department where you will do all your expenses.
Okay, so where the item of expenses, I am changing the thing now. Where your item of expenses are being incurred, that place is called your cost center.
Huh.
Where your item of
Okay, where your item of expenditure is incurred. So any item of expenditure that happens anywhere. So when there is item of expenditure that is incurred, that place is called your cost center.
Cost center.
Okay. Now, when you look at this image only, can you tell me how many cost centers can you all see over here?
Two.
I
think two.
Which two cost centers? Can you name them?
One is this warehouse and one is canteen.
So can you give an appropriate word?
Appropriate word matlab?
A proper word that you can give to this type of cost centers and a proper word that you can give to this type of cost centers.
External, internal, I think. I don't know.
Okay. Can I say this is a place where the goods are being manufactured?
Yeah.
So can I say this could be the production cost center?
Yeah.
The place where your goods are being directly being manufactured? Production cost center?
Yeah.
And can I say this is a service cost center where these people help the production cost center to do their work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are two types of cost center. I would say one is the production cost center that is directly producing the goods, and one is the service cost center that does not directly produce the good, but they help the production cost center to produce the goods? Yes. So my
Yeah.
three things was there. First thing, what is a cost center?
Where your item of expense
Is incurred.
is called a cost
Where
center.
your item of expenditure is incurred. Second, how many types of cost center do you have in a business?
Service cost center and production cost center.
So first cost center that you have in a business is the production cost center. The next cost center that you have in the business is your service cost center. What is a production cost center?
Where the product is directly produced.
Okay, a production cost center is where your product is directly being produced. What is a service cost center?
A place where it helps the cost center produce the products.
It helps the production cost center to produce the goods and
Produce the
services.
product.
So production cost center is something that will directly produce the goods and services.
Okay.
And service cost center is the one that will help the production cost center to produce the goods and services. So let's see, look at this question over here and answer my question. How many departments? Can you give another word to departments?
Overheads.
No. What is department?
A
What is
division.
department?
Like divisions.
Yeah.
Cost center.
Acha, okay.
Oh, what is department? Cost
Cost
center.
center.
Cost center is a place where you incur your item of expenditure.
Hmm.
Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cost center, your department, is the place where you incur your item of expenditure. So can you answer and tell me how many departments or how many cost center over here the manufacturer has?
First is factory he has, so that'll be one cost center.
Plant and
Think
machinery.
properly, okay?
Hmm.
Think properly. Cost center means what?
Departments.
It's where
Department. So here, how many department does it have? Can I say machining is one department?
Yeah, machining, painting, assembly, packing is one department.
So how many department does my manufacturer have over here?
Four.
So my manufacturer has 4 departments. Can you name those departments?
Yeah, machining, painting, assembly, and packing.
So the 4 departments is, first is machining, second is painting, third is assembly, fourth is packing. Okay. So what is a cost center?
the department.
The departments.
Can you elaborate?
A
Like,
place where
for example,
expenditure is incurred.
It's written over here. Think.
the individual department to which you can charge expenses called cost center. So painting ka expense is there, so that's why it's cost center.
Okay, the department where you can charge your expense is called the cost center. So these are departments. Your expenses are different thing. If you think properly, what are the expenses that you're going to charge to these departments? Can you give me the names of expenses that you can see over here that you will charge to your departments?
Yeah,
Will be charged for each of the departments.
yeah, rent.
So I
Then
would
there's
say expenditure is material, labor, indirect labor, factory expenses, rent, heating, maintenance, insurance. Depreciation.
Repairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is a cost center?
A cost center is basically individual departments to which you can charge expenses.
Okay. What is the name of expenses that you can charge?
Depreciation, rent, repairing, insurance, maintenance,
Oh,
lighting, and all.
how many types of cost centers do we have?
4.
Okay, over here, 4.
No, not here.
Oh,
And
How
okay,
many
regular.
types of
There are
cost
two.
center do we have?
2.
What
Two,
are the two types of
producer,
cost center?
Production
producer and service.
One is the production cost center and one is the service cost center.
Hmm.
Okay. So to your cost center, you will charge your item of expenditure. Okay. If I see over here, machining and painting is the production cost center.
Yeah.
Assembly and packing is the service cost center.
Yeah.
Because machining will produce, painting will also help in production. Assembly is
Yeah.
just going to help in assembly and selling. So they are going to provide service to these people.
Hmm.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now, when I know what is a cost center and the two cost centers that is there. So cost center are places where you are going to charge your expenses. Are you all with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I am going to charge my expenses to the cost center, the question that comes over here is, which expenses will you charge
Miss, for like
to the cost
example,
center?
painting के लिए the expense would be the paint के डब्बे. That would be one expense.
Yes,
The boxes of
exactly.
paint.
So when I am talking about expenses of any cost center, of any department, all the department would have some direct expenses
Yeah.
Hmm.
and all the department would also have some indirect expenses. So all the department would have some direct expenses and all the department would have some indirect expenses. Are you with me?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I have cost center, say I have two production cost center and I have two service cost center, can I say direct expenses are those expenses that can be directly traceable to the product?
Yeah.
Huh.
So direct expenses are those expenses that can be directly traceable to the product. So I will exactly, now these words that I'm using is very important. Okay. So I will exactly know what is the exact expenses of this individual department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all the direct expenses, can you name the direct expenses for me? What are the direct expenses?
Direct labor, direct material.
Direct material, direct
Direct
labor, and
labor.
direct expenses, which is the prime cost.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Direct expenses are those expenses that can be directly traceable to the product. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That means I directly know which department has what, how much amount of direct expenses.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So when I exactly know that this expense is belonging to this department, I will just pick up that expense and I will put it in that department. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So when I exactly know that this entire expense belongs to this department and I pick up the expense and put it to the department, I'm repeating these words again. I will pick up the expense and I will put it to the department. I will pick up the expense and I will put it to the department. That means I am doing allocation.
Hmm.
What am I doing? Allocation of cost.
Patient.
So what is allocation of cost? In allocation of cost, you exactly know that the entire amount is belonging to this department. You will exactly know that your full amount, your entire amount is belonging to the department. You will pick up the expense and put it to the department. You will pick up the expense and put it to the department. It is called allocation. Are you with me?
Yes,
Yeah.
100% times, always, direct expenses are always, or you could say 99.99%, these expenses are always allocated. Why do I say they are allocated?
because they are picked up and they're allocated to
Yeah,
each.
because they are picked up and put it in the department.
But why are they picked up and put it in the department?
So it's easy to understand and like
Yeah,
separate them.
segregate them.
Because I know that this is the whole amount of expense is directly related to the department, because I know that the whole expense is directly related to this department, so I will pick up the expense and put it, so it is called allocation. Are you with me?
Huh.
So overhead allocation is when you know that your whole expense is related to that department. Are you with me?
Yeah.
For direct expenses, you will always have allocation. Now let's talk about indirect expenses. What is indirect expenses? What is indirect expenses?
Miss,
Indirect
where is the allocation of the direct expenses?
For direct expenses, there will always be allocation. When we come to a sum, you will have proper clarity.
Okay.
What is indirect expenses?
Expenses that are not directly traceable to the product.
Yeah, like
Expenses that are
directly
not directly traceable to the product. In a manufacturing concern, this will be called what?
Factory overhead. No.
In a manufacturing concern, this will be called what? Factory overheads. So indirect expenses are called overheads, factory overheads, that is not directly traceable to the product. Okay, so if the expense is not directly traceable to the product, or you could say it is not directly traceable to the department, then in that case, how will you split it amongst the 4 departments?
Because I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it?
I have an expense. Let's take this example over here. How many departments do I have over here?
4.
4 cost center. Can you see direct material, the entire amount of expenditure? I know that this is related to the machining department, so the cost is being allocated.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The full amount of expenditure is related to the department, so I will say the cost is allocated. For direct labor, how is it? For direct labor,
It is also allocated to each of the cost centers.
Yeah.
so here also it is allocated. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. For indirect labor,
For indirect labor, over here also it's allocated.
over here also it is allocated, because the entire amount of expenditure is related to the department. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so even here it is allocated. How about here?
Here it's not.
Here
Rent.
also it's not allocated, no?
It is not allocated. That means I have a common expense that is belonging to all my 4 cost centers: machining, painting, assembly, and packing. I have a common expense that is related to my cost center, and I do not know which how much amount is belonging to each department. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is an indirect expense where I just mark the words that I'm using. This is an indirect expense where the item of expenditure is belonging to the four cost centers, but I do not know how much to be given to each cost center. Do I know? I don't know.
Don't know.
I don't know. In this case, can I do allocation?
No, you can't.
No, you can't.
You can't do allocation because in allocation, you know, fixed, this is for this. So when you cannot do allocation, in this cases, you will do apportionment. What is apportionment? Apportionment is distributing your item of expenditure to your departments or to your cost center on suitable basis.
Hmm.
So this rent is belonging to my four cost centers. So in this case, I am going to do further work. My further work would be to distribute them to the cost centers on suitable basis, and the suitable basis will be given to you. So over here, if you see, there is some additional information. Floor area is given and plant and machinery cost is given for each cost centers. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rent will be divided, or I would say it would be distributed, or in another words, I could say it would be apportioned. I am using these three words. Rent will be divided, or I can say it is distributed, or in another words, I can say it is apportioned.
Hmm.
So it is apportioned. This is the appropriate word that you will use. So it is apportioned amongst the cost center on suitable basis. So rent is divided, or I can say it is distributed, or you can say it is apportioned amongst the cost center on suitable basis. So let's come to my question again. Direct expenses is going to be allocated. Direct expenses is going to be
Allocated.
allocated. Why you going to allocate it?
To
Why
calculate
you're
the
going to allocate it?
to calculate the this
No.
sorry to
Allocate is when you directly know the expense. For this department. It is directly traceable.
yeah.
So when the item of expenditure is directly traceable, you will allocate it.
Hmm.
When the item of expense is not directly traceable, you have to further divide it, you have to further distribute it, you have to further see the additional information. So the expenditure is for more than one department. In that case, what will you do is apportionment.
Hmm.
So my basic target over here is to distinguish between allocation and apportionment.
Hmm.
And they will ask you as a past paper questions. If you see, in every alternate sum there is questions that is related to it. What is the distinguish between allocation and apportionment? So what is allocation?
Allocation is when it's directly given to which expense it is related to.
The direct expense is already given.
Yeah, and
Okay,
apportionment.
allocation is when the whole expense is directly related to one department. I want these words only. What is allocation?
Allocation is when the whole expense is directly related to one department.
And what is apportionment?
Apportionment is when the whole expense is um,
Related
related to more than one
to
department.
Yes, allocation is when the whole expense is related to one department, and apportionment is when the expense is related to more than one department. So I want you to go to this PPT on this page over here and tell me, write for me where there is allocation and where there is apportionment. For allocation, you will write AL, and for apportionment, you will write AP. But you will write the AL and AP for the item of expenditure.
Okay.
Miss, which page
So
is
for
this?
direct material, it is just
We
scroll
have to
through,
say
you will see.
For direct
Miss
material is
direct AL.
allocation.
For direct expense, it is AL. Direct material,
AL.
AL. Direct labor,
AL.
okay. Indirect labor,
AP.
AP.
AP. Why AP?
Because it's
Because
indirect,
the
will go in
expense
many
is related
different
to more than one
But
department.
is the item of expenditure, is it traceable to different departments?
no.
Yeah, no? Yeah, it's traceable.
Yeah, because
See,
matching will yeah, it's AL only, my bad.
you know na, what is the definition of allocation? When the whole item of expenditure, when the whole expenses is directly related to one department.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is allocation?
When the whole
When the whole
it's related
expenditure is
to only
directly
one
related to
department.
one department.
Okay, fine. Again, what is
Allocation
allocation?
When the
related
whole
to one
expenditure is
department.
directly related to one department.
What is apportionment?
When the
the
whole
expense is
expenditure is
related
related
to
to
more than
different
one department.
departments.
And you have to divide it, distribute it, or apportion on suitable basis. So for indirect labor, it will be allocation or apportionment.
Indirect labor. It'll be
Allocation.
allocation.
For factory expenses, it will be allocation or apportionment. Just see rent.
Apportionment.
Apportionment.
Okay. So the item of expenditure is allocated and apportioned. This you have to keep in mind. Heating and lighting.
Allocation.
Apportionment.
Apportionment.
Maintenance.
Apportionment.
Insurance.
Apportionment.
Depreciation.
AP.
Yeah, even I think AP.
Repairs.
AP.
Insurance.
Again AP.
AP.
So whenever the AP is coming, you have to apportion it amongst the cost centers on suitable basis. So you have the cost centers. Your cost centers are machining, painting, assembly, and packing, right?
Yeah.
Now you have to see that in which proportion or on which basis you are going to divide it. So you have two bases over here. One is the floor area and one is the cost of your asset. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything that is related to the asset is plant and machinery. So everything related to the asset will be distributed on the basis of cost of asset.